All set? All right, good morning. All right, I'm joined here today by Cook County State's Attorney Eileen O'Neill Burke, Deputy Mayor of Community Safety Gary Gatewood, First Deputy Superintendent Yolanda Talley, our Chief of Patrol John Hine, our Chief of the Bureau of Counterterrorism Dwayne DeVries, Area 5 Detective Division Commander John Foster, and 14th District Acting Commander Brian Courtney, and Deputy Director Mike Milstein. We're also joined by members of the Area 5 Detective Division whose work to bring justice to survivors of sex crimes is why we're here today. 36-year-old Shakib Mansour Koja has been charged in multiple sex crimes against 5 female survivors. His 18 total charges include 3 felony counts of aggravated criminal sexual assault with a weapon, 2 felony counts of aggravated criminal sexual abuse with a weapon, 2 felony counts of aggravated criminal sexual assault with bodily harm, 2 felony counts of aggravated kidnapping while armed, 1 felony count of aggravated criminal sexual abuse with bodily harm, 1 felony count of aggravated kidnapping with an infliction of bodily harm, 1 felony count of unlawful restraint, 1 felony count of attempt aggravated battery with strangulation and a dangerous instrument, 1 felony count of attempt kidnapping while secretly confining the victim, 1 felony attempt of home invasion with bodily harm, 1 felony count of attempt home invasion with a dangerous weapon, 1 misdemeanor count of public indecency and lewd exposure, 1 misdemeanor count of public indecency, sexual conduct. This offender committed these crimes on the city's north side between May of 2022 and February of this year. Before I continue, I want to acknowledge the strength and resilience of the survivors who were traumatized by these horrific crimes and actions of this individual. These women survived something that was horrible and terrible, and it's something that they will continue to live with throughout the rest of their days. Although the offender is in custody, we know there is still a long road for the women as these cases are prosecuted. We stand with these survivors and all survivors of sexual violence and sexual assault. Members of the Area 5 Detective Division worked thoroughly, combing over evidence to establish a pattern between these cases so they could identify and apprehend this offender. In addition to information provided by victims and witnesses, detectives established this pattern through video and DNA evidence. Some of these survivors waited nearly 3 years hoping that this individual would be caught. Throughout it all, our detectives never gave up and continued to pursue all leads to bring resolution in these cases. These charges are the result of close coordination between bureaus within CPD and outside partners. First of all, let me just acknowledge the patrol division. I know we have everyone here who followed up on this crime, but without the work of our men and women in the squad cars and out there in uniform who are working every single day to gather evidence to pass on to the detective division, without that work, we could not be here. So let me acknowledge the 14th District Robbery Team, which tracked down information on a vehicle that led to the identity of this suspect. Partnership was crucial during this investigation. The Illinois State Police Forensics Lab played a vital role in processing the DNA evidence our detectives needed to connect the offender to multiple sex crimes that he's charged with today. The DNA processing unit in our forensics lab meet regularly with ISP Forensics and State's Attorney's Office to review cases and expand DNA testing options to increase the potential to identify and apprehend offenders. The Cook County State's Attorney did a full review of these cases to secure the 18 charges once this offender was identified. We will continue working to strengthen our investigations to bring justice to survivors of sexual assault. As part of this dedication, we are involved in several multidisciplinary initiatives, including the Illinois Medical District Sexual Assault Response Team, which works to support sexual assault survivors with trauma-informed care. We are also building stronger partnerships with hospital staff who provide medical care to sexual assault survivors. In 2024, our Bureau of Detectives met with more than 70 sex assault nurse examiners to discuss how we can further support survivors. Lastly, I want to provide some information for those in need of assistance. And this is extremely important because we have survivors and people who have been victimized who are still out there and maybe have not told their story or reached out. For that, the Chicago Rape Crisis Hotline is available 24 hours a day and is free and confidential. Please, if you are a survivor of a sexual assault and need support, please call 1-888-293-2080. Again, that number is 1-888-293-2080. You can also reach out to CPD's Crime Victim Services. We will send out information to post the website. Right now, it's victimservices@chicagopolice.org. I'll now introduce the Cook County State's Attorney, Eileen O'Neill Burke, and I just want to thank her for her partnership in this and thank her team for following through and making sure that we secure charges on this very violent offender to get him off the street and make others safe. State's Attorney.
Thank you, Soup. Good morning, all. How are you today? Today, the city is safer. Today, every single woman in the city, every single man who has a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister, should all be breathing a sigh of relief. This man was a violent serial predator who literally went out hunting for his victims. It was only through the dogged police work they didn't give up. They kept investigating for 3 years, and they found him. I would like to give credit to my state's attorneys, Kim Ward and Claire Cronin, Madison Riggs, and they worked round the clock for days, making sure that this case was the best that it could possibly be. Stephanie Gersh is a specialist in sex crimes. She has been advising on this case doggedly for the entire investigation period, and she will be the trial attorney on this case. We are putting the best and the brightest on this case to make sure that this man will be incarcerated and will not harm people again. That is our goal. So thank you for being here today, and this is a good day for Chicago. Gary? I'm new to this game, so I'm introducing Gary Gatewood, the Deputy Mayor for Community Safety.
Thank you, Madam State's Attorney. You're already a natural at it, so it doesn't seem new. Thank you all for being here today. As both the superintendent and the State's Attorney mentioned, today is about justice, and today is about removing a serial predator from our streets, keeping Chicagoans safe, and making sure people are able to heal in whatever ways are possible. Today is about healing, today is about closure, but today is also about the relentless pursuit of justice. And CPD never gave up for victims who have been victims of sexual assault or any other victims of crime. Let today be an example of the need to call out for help. The police department won't give up. The city of Chicago won't give up. And the Cook County State's Attorney's team won't give up either. We are here for you. We are with you. We'll make sure you have every resource possible to make sure we're holding folks accountable. Thank you, and we'll turn it back over to the superintendent for questions.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. With that, we'll take any questions. However, let me just start by saying this because I don't want there to be any surprises. We have 5 victims of sexual assault. We want to be very careful about the questions that we ask because we need to be sensitive about those victims and what they've been through. So there will be limited answers to some of your questions possibly, but I just want to, just let everybody know that. So we'll start with whoever wants to start first.
Please introduce.
Hi, good morning, Superintendent Tara Molina from CBS News.
Good morning, Tara.
It looks like at least 2 of these addresses cross over with stories we worked on back in February, Logan Square sex assault. So can you speak to that and that community now having this man off the streets? And then second part, can you talk about how the relationships you talked about here today play into the strategic policing plan that you're releasing today, the 3-year plan?
Well, excellent question. First of all, let me say to the community that this individual terrified. I mean, can you imagine being a woman or a family member of women who go to and from every day, work, school, whatever, and worrying about a sexual predator being out there and knowing that the Chicago Police Department, although over a 3-year period worked on this, eventually caught this individual and got him off the street. People can feel safer. But the Chicago Police Department is going to continue to work to make sure that residents are safe. We've heard people's voices. We take these things seriously, regardless of what anyone says or thinks. The men and women who are out there are always working to try to stop something like this because they see the victims, we see the victims. How this works into my strategic plan, it's part of CPD's strategic plan to work collaboratively with everyone across the board, not just our law enforcement partners, our federal partners, our state's attorneys, but with the people in the field, witnesses, having them come forward, developing these relationships so that we can gather more information to solve crimes like this. So this is not just about policing. It's not just about the police. Part of policing is engagement with communities that are willing to work with the police to gather information to take people like this off the street. So this fits, and not only does it fit right into the strategic plan, it's an example of what the strategic plan is all about.
Okay, Paulo Alvarado from Univision. Our question for you, Chief. Do we know if between 2022 and 2025 this man was in Chicago or somewhere else? And do we know if he's more victims outside, especially because we have like a 5 here?
Well, here's what I can tell you. We'll always look to see if there are other victims. Look, we can never assume that we have located every victim that this predator, has targeted. We would like to know that if there are more victims out there, which is why I gave that information at the end to ensure that, they can come forward. When we see reports of sexual assault, in some cases, it sounds like a terrible thing that there's an uptick in reporting on that. But the good part about it is those victims are coming forward. And then we can reach out to those victims, get them some help, provide victim services, make sure that their trauma is addressed at some level. So we're not just pulling this offender off the street, but we're looking to make sure that these victims get some type of services.
Soup, good morning. I see that the offender was arrested at O'Hare Airport. Are you able to discuss a little bit about the circumstances of the arrest? Was he an employee at the airport?
No, all we know was that he was coming back from out of town. So that's what we know right now about it.
Good morning, Tia Ewing with Fox 32 Chicago.
Good morning, Tia.
Good morning. My first question is, do we know if this man was working? Is he a native Chicagoan? And then you mentioned video evidence helped to solve this. Was this video as in ring camera video? Was this on people's properties, on businesses, et cetera?
Well, here, I'll call up the commander of Detective John Foster, just to talk a little bit about it. The information will be limited.
So some of the video that we obtained was both public and private. I'm not sure what else would you like?
When you say private, so did this essentially mean that you went knocking on doors to get people to then hand over video that they would have had on their public or private property?
That's correct. That would be private video, and then there's obviously police cameras that we utilized to capture evidence.
I told you it'd be limited.
State's Attorney, could you address how this could play a role in the pilot program when we're talking about felony bypass review?
This case is a perfect example of why bypass was necessary. So we have a pilot program running right now in the 5th District and the 7th District tracking gun cases, low-level gun cases, the least serious of gun cases. They don't need to come through felony review in order to get felony approval. They're bypassed to review. That doesn't mean no state's attorney reviews it. It means we review it at first appearance court, at preliminary hearing court, and along the system. This is a perfect example. We had 4 state's attorneys out at all given times working on this case round the clock. These are the cases that our state's attorneys need to be working on, talking to witnesses, talking to victims. This is where our resources are best utilized. So employing a bypass program for lower level felonies that the state's attorney's office really doesn't have any impact on the putting the elements of the offense together is a logger jam that needed to be rectified so that we can focus on victims and on witnesses, on cases that need our input on. So thank you for asking that question, Sean, because this is a perfect example of why bypass is necessary and why it's working.
And if let me just follow up on that a little bit from the police side of it, because the state's attorney is 100% right. You know, when our officers at the beginning of the tour of duty arrest someone who is in illegal possession of a gun, and it's the most basic case, that in the past that took our officers off the street for 6 to 8 hours, you know, waiting for approval to come back from felony review. So that's a car that's down. So if we get 2, 3 gun arrests at the beginning or close to the beginning of the tour of duty, those are 2 to 3 vehicles that are down for the rest of the tour. These are people who could be back out there quickly answering calls for service and getting to the bottom of crimes like this. We need to protect people, and we need to make sure that our officers have the ability to go out there and protect people. This bypass program has nothing to do with railroading anyone. So when you hear that, it's nonsense. What we're trying to do is be as strategic as we can about getting to the bottom of violent crimes, and that our officers' time is being utilized in the best interest of everyone in this city and the safety of the city.
Superintendent Dave Struett, Sun Times.
How are you, Dave?
Good, how are you? A gun recovered at a buyback was stolen from a room full of officers in the 6th District and wound up in the hands of a teenager. Who stole the gun, and how did the 16-year-old get it?
Right now, what I can tell you is immediately when we got that information, there was a CR number and an investigation launched. That investigation is still underway at this time. So when that investigation has concluded, all of the information will be available.
I'm going to yield.
Yes, Casey Toner with the Illinois Answers Project. In the case of that, stolen gun, have new personnel been attached to it?
I'm sorry, what was that?
In the case of that gun that was stolen out of the 6th District, you said it's still under investigation, criminal
It's under-
investigation. Have new personnel been assigned to it?
No, the investigation, the case in and of itself is under investigation. So there's nothing that I can tell you beyond that point. When you look at this particular situation, when you look at the number of guns that have been turned in, this is one case that is under investigation at this point. And once we get to the bottom of the investigation, if there's anything nefarious that we find, we'll take action.
Superintendent Mac Lederman with Block Club Chicago. Question for either, hi, how are you? Question for either you or your detectives. I understand there was a courtroom sketch released in this case of the suspect. Did that help at all in making the arrest? And if not, what was there a crucial piece of evidence that really cracked open the case and identifying him?
John, you want to talk about that one?
You're correct. There was a courtroom sketch. It was completed by the Cook County Sheriff's Office Police Department. Every piece of an investigation has a cumulative effect and leads us to the conclusion that we have today. So every piece was helpful, and including the sketch. John Foster.
Brandon with WBBM News Radio, and I might be a little bit redundant here, but we'll try to get through it. Was the suspect known to any of the survivors?
That we won't get into. That goes into the investigation, so we won't get into that right now.
Okay, and to kind of follow up on that, was this individual identified back in 2022 and kind of on the same level as the employment issue? Did Koja have any particular role in the community? Was he, involved with kids or women's programs or anything else like that?
That right now we can't tell you that. This investigation continues and it's ongoing. So again, we don't know how far this individual reached, but we're going to continue to reach out. And if there's anything else that we can uncover and solve, we'll do so.
Final question.
Christian Farmer, BC5. I don't know if you could speak to this, might be part of the investigation. That 3-year break, can you speak to that? And also, what's next with this case? I know he's in custody. What are the next steps?
Christian, when you say 3-year break, what do you mean?
2022 to 2025, it says, in terms of the assaults. I was just wondering, is there a reason why that you, during your investigation, that you found that he wasn't accused of any assaults in those 3 years?
Well, we don't necessarily know if he offended during that time. And it's possible that he did, and it's possible that those victims have not come forward. We don't know that right now. But what we do know is where he offended, these detectives have been working just ridiculously hard to bring justice to these victims, and collecting the evidence, making the case, working along with all of the forensics labs, the state's attorney's office. We were able to get this predator off the street, and trust me, this is a predator. And we want to make sure that anytime we come into contact with people like that, we want to get them off the street. He's in custody, so everything now at this point goes to trial.